Passive Income Blueprint, 7 streams every wealthy person builds. Right now, at this exact moment, while you are listening to this, someone is making money. Not because they are working, not because they showed up somewhere, not because they traded an hour of their life for a paycheck. They are making money because 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, they made a decision. A quiet, unglamorous, unsexy decision that most people around them did not understand and did not take seriously. They decided to build a stream. Just one stream, small, almost invisible, barely producing anything in the beginning. And then another, and another, until one day the streams became rivers, and the rivers became something that no salary, no promotion, no annual raise could ever replicate. Financial freedom. Not the kind that requires you to work harder, not the kind that depends on your continued presence, your continued effort, your continued sacrifice of time you will never get back. The kind that flows whether you are working or sleeping, whether you are healthy or sick, whether you are present or 10,000 miles away on a beach watching the sun go down. That kind. Today, we are going to build your blueprint. 7 streams, 7 systems, 7 decisions that the wealthiest people in the world have made. Not because they are smarter than you, not because they had more to start with, but because they understood something that most people spend their entire lives never learning. Your income should never depend entirely on you showing up. The statistic has been quoted so many times it has almost become a cliché. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. But here is what nobody explains when they quote that statistic. They do not mean 7 jobs. They do not mean 7 businesses that each require 40 hours a week of active management. They do not mean a level of complexity and effort that would exhaust any reasonable human being within 6 months. They mean 7 systems, 7 structures, most of which, once built, require minimal ongoing effort, that together create a financial architecture so robust, so resilient, and so continuously generative that no single point of failure can bring the whole thing down. Think about what that means in practical terms. If you have one income stream, a salary, and that stream is interrupted, everything stops. Your financial life depends entirely on a single pipeline that can be cut at any moment by a decision made by someone else in a boardroom you will never enter. If you have 7 income streams and one is interrupted, 6 continue. Your financial life has redundancy built into its architecture. It has resilience that a single stream earner can never have, regardless of how large that single stream grows. This is not about greed. This is not about accumulating beyond what you need. This is about building a financial life that does not require you to be perpetually vulnerable to the decisions of others. Robert Kiyosaki, whose Rich Dad, Poor Dad remains one of the most influential financial books ever written, described this as moving from the left side of the cash flow quadrant to the right side. From employee and self-employed, where your income depends on your personal effort, to business owner and investor, where your income is generated by systems and assets that work independently of your daily presence. Today, we are going to walk through all 7 streams, what they are, how they work, how to build them, and in what order to build them so that each one funds the next. This is your passive income blueprint. Stream number 1. Earned income, the foundation. Every blueprint needs a foundation, and the foundation of every passive income journey, without exception, for virtually every person who has ever built real financial independence, is earned income. Earned income is the money you receive in exchange for your active work, your salary, your freelance fees, your consulting rates, the direct exchange of your time, skill, and effort for compensation. This is the stream that most people spend their entire lives focused on exclusively. And while that exclusivity is the problem, being dependent on a single active income stream is financially precarious. Earned income itself is not the enemy. It is the fuel. The mistake most people make is treating earned income as the destination. They work to earn, they spend what they earn. They work to earn more, they spend what they earn. The cycle repeats, compounding into nothing until retirement arrives and the financial reality of a life spent earning without building becomes devastatingly clear. The wealthy treat earned income as the seed capital for everything else. Every dollar of earned income is evaluated not just for what it can buy today, but for what it can become tomorrow if directed toward an asset rather than a liability. The discipline of consistently directing a percentage of earned income before spending automatically non-negotiably toward the other 6 streams is the engine that drives the entire passive income blueprint. Warren Buffett earned his first significant money as a paperboy at 13. He did not spend it. He invested it in farmland, in stocks, in businesses. His earned income was the seed. Everything that followed was the compound effect of planting that seed in productive soil rather than consuming it immediately. The practical principle here is simple but critical. Before you can build passive income, you need capital. And the primary source of that capital for most people is earned income. The question is not how much you earn. The question is what percentage of what you earn you direct toward building the other 6 streams. Pay yourself first, invest the difference, build the next stream. The foundation is not glamorous, but nothing extraordinary ever gets built without one. Stream number 2, investment income. Money making money. The second stream is where the passive income blueprint begins to feel real, where the abstract principle of making money work for you becomes concrete and measurable. Investment income is the return generated by financial assets, stocks, bonds, index funds, ETFs, REITs, and other securities that you own. It comes in 2 forms: capital appreciation, which is the increase in value of the asset over time, and income distributions, which are the dividends, interest payments, and yield generated by the asset on a regular basis. This is the stream that most people understand intellectually but fail to build in practice, not because it is complicated, but because it requires patience that the culture we live in is specifically designed to destroy. An index fund tracking the S&P 500, the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the United States, has returned an average of approximately 10% per year over the last century, through wars, recessions, depressions, pandemics, and every variety of economic catastrophe imaginable. 10% per year, every year, on average. This is not a secret. This information is freely available to anyone with an internet connection, and yet the vast majority of people never build this stream because they are waiting for the right moment, the right amount, the right level of knowledge that never quite arrives. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard and the inventor of the index fund, spent his life arguing a simple point. Most investors, most of the time, would be better served by simply buying the entire market through a low-cost index fund and holding it forever than by trying to pick individual stocks or time market movements. His argument was not philosophical, it was mathematical. Over long time horizons, a diversified low-cost index fund outperforms the vast majority of actively managed funds because the fees of active management, compounded over decades, consume an extraordinary percentage of the returns. The practical starting point for most people is this: open a brokerage account, choose a broad market index fund with low expense ratios, set up automatic monthly contributions, whatever you can consistently sustain, and do not touch it. That is it. That is the entire strategy for building Stream 2. Not exciting, not complex, but compounded over 20 years, it is one of the most powerful wealth-building mechanisms available to an ordinary person with an ordinary income. Stream number 3, rental income. Real estate as a system. The third stream is perhaps the most traditional wealth-building vehicle in human history, the one that has created more millionaires across more generations and more cultures than any other asset class: rental income. The concept is elegantly simple. You own a property, someone else pays you to use it. The payment, after mortgage, maintenance, insurance, and management costs, generates a cash surplus that flows into your pocket every month without requiring your active presence or effort. Real estate as a passive income stream is not without complexity. It requires capital to enter, typically a down payment of 15 to 25% of the property value. It requires due diligence, understanding markets, evaluating properties, assessing cash flow potential before purchase. And it requires either the willingness to manage properties yourself or the systems to have them professionally managed. But once those foundations are in place, once a well-chosen property with strong rental demand is acquired and a management system is established, rental income is one of the most reliable and inflation-protected passive income streams available. Here is what makes real estate uniquely powerful as a wealth-building vehicle. Leverage. The banking system allows you to control a $250,000 asset with a $50,000 down payment. No other asset class makes leverage this accessible to ordinary investors. And the returns, as we explored in the Think in Systems audiobook, are calculated on the full value of the asset, not just your initial capital. Appreciation. Historically, well-located real estate appreciates in value over time, providing both ongoing rental income and long-term capital gains. Tax advantages. In most jurisdictions, real estate investors benefit from significant tax advantages: depreciation deductions, mortgage interest deductions, capital gains treatment on sale that reduce the effective tax rate on real estate income compared to earned income. Inflation protection. As inflation rises, rents rise with it, protecting the purchasing power of rental income in a way that fixed-rate bonds and savings accounts cannot. The entry point for most people is a single property, often a small residential unit in a location with strong rental demand. The strategy is simple: buy well, manage efficiently, reinvest the cash flow into the next property. Over time, the portfolio grows and the income compounds. Real estate is not passive in the beginning. It requires significant active effort to acquire, establish, and systematize. But once those systems are in place, once the property is producing reliable cash flow with professional management, it becomes one of the most genuinely passive income streams available. Stream number 4, business income, building systems that run without you. The fourth stream is the one that carries the most potential and the most risk, the one that requires the most upfront investment of time, energy, and capital, and the one that, when built correctly, can produce income at a scale that none of the other 6 streams can match. Business income from a business that runs without you. The critical distinction here, the one that separates this stream from simply owning a job, is the phrase "that runs without you." Michael Gerber made this distinction the centerpiece of The E-Myth Revisited. Most people who start businesses do not build businesses. They build jobs for themselves, jobs with higher stress, lower security, and no guaranteed income than the employment they left. They become the technician doing the work, the manager managing themselves, and the entrepreneur trying to grow, all at once, all the time, with no system and no leverage. A true passive income business is built on systems, on documented processes that can be executed by other people, on a team that can deliver the product or service without the founder's daily involvement, on a brand and a customer base that is attached to the business rather than to any single individual within it. Building this kind of business takes years. It requires the willingness to invest in team, in systems, in infrastructure before the returns materialize. It requires the discipline to work on the business rather than always in it. But here is what a properly systematized business produces that no other income stream can replicate: scalability without proportional effort increase, A rental property portfolio that generates $10,000 a month requires roughly 10 times the capital of one that generates $1,000 a month. But a business that generates 10 times the revenue does not necessarily require 10 times the people, capital, or complexity. Business income can scale asymmetrically, and at its best, it can grow exponentially while the operational demands on the owner grow only marginally. The starting point for most people is not a complex enterprise. It is a small, simple business in a domain they understand, built deliberately from the beginning with systems in mind. The question to ask from day one is not, how do I do this, but how do I build a system that does this without me? Stream number 5, royalty income, getting paid for what you know. The fifth stream is one that most people never consider, and one that the digital age has made more accessible than at any point in human history. Royalty income. Royalties are payments received for the ongoing use of something you created or own. A book that continues to sell years after it was written. A song that earns money every time it is streamed or licensed. A patent that generates licensing fees from every company that uses the technology. An online course that was built once and continues to sell to new students indefinitely. The defining characteristic of royalty income is that the work is done once and the income continues. This is perhaps the purest expression of passive income that exists. The author who wrote a book 15 years ago receives a royalty check this month for every copy sold without writing a single new word. The musician whose song was recorded in a studio session 3 decades ago earns streaming royalties every time someone plays it today. In the pre-digital era, royalty income was largely limited to published authors, recording artists, inventors, and professionals with specific intellectual property. The barriers to entry were extraordinarily high. The digital era has demolished those barriers entirely. An online course, a structured series of video lessons teaching a skill you possess, can be created in a weekend for minimal cost and sold to students around the world indefinitely. Platforms like Teachable, Gumroad, Udemy, and dozens of others provide the entire infrastructure, hosting, payment processing, delivery, student management for a small percentage of revenue or a modest monthly fee. An ebook, a PDF or digital document containing useful information on a topic you know well, can be written in a month and sold online indefinitely through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, Gumroad, or your own website. A YouTube channel with a catalog of valuable videos generates advertising royalties every time those videos are watched, whether the channel uploads new content that week or not. A back catalog of 50 videos, each generating a modest number of views per month, can produce a meaningful and entirely passive monthly income. The entry point to royalty income is knowledge. Whatever you know deeply, whatever skill, experience, or expertise you have developed through your career or your life has value to someone who is earlier in that journey than you are. The question is not whether you have something worth teaching. You almost certainly do. The question is whether you are willing to invest the upfront effort to package it in a form that can be sold and delivered without your ongoing active involvement. Stream 6. Interest income. The quietest of all 7, the one that generates the least excitement and the most reliable, predictable, low-maintenance income of any asset class available. Interest income. Interest income is generated by lending your capital to governments through bonds, to companies through corporate bonds, to individuals through peer-to-peer lending platforms, or simply by holding cash in high-yield savings instruments. In exchange for the use of your capital, the borrower pays you interest, a regular, scheduled, contractually defined payment that arrives regardless of market conditions, economic cycles, or any active effort on your part. Interest income is not the highest returning stream on this list. Historically, bonds and fixed income instruments have returned significantly less than equities over long periods. But that comparison misses the point of why interest income belongs in a passive income portfolio. Stability, predictability, resilience. In a diversified passive income portfolio, interest income plays a specific and valuable role. When equity markets are volatile, when investment income from stocks is fluctuating dramatically, Interest income continues to arrive on schedule. When real estate markets are in a correction, when property values are falling and rental demand is softening, bond income continues to compound quietly. Interest income is the ballast of the passive income ship. It does not make the ship go faster, but it keeps it stable in rough water. The practical vehicles for building interest income include government bonds and bond index funds, corporate bond funds, high-yield savings accounts, certificates of deposit, treasury bins, and peer-to-peer lending platforms. In a low-interest rate environment, the returns from this stream are modest. In a higher interest rate environment, such as the one that began in many countries in the early 2020s, they become genuinely significant. The principle is simple. Capital you are not immediately deploying in higher return assets should be working quietly, predictably, without drama, in interest-bearing instruments rather than sitting idle in a zero-yield checking account. Every dollar working is a dollar building. Stream 7. Digital income, the 21st century stream. The seventh and final stream is the one that did not exist 20 years ago, and the one that has created more new millionaires in the last decade than any other income category in human history. Digital income. Digital income encompasses every form of revenue generated through digital platforms, digital content, and digital products, without the constraints of geography, physical inventory, or the traditional limitations of time for money exchange. It includes, but is not limited to, YouTube advertising revenue, podcast sponsorships, affiliate marketing commissions, digital product sales, newsletter monetization, social media brand partnerships, software as a service products, membership communities, and the rapidly expanding world of creator economy monetization. What makes digital income uniquely powerful as a passive income stream is its combination of scalability and low marginal cost. A physical product that sells 1 million units requires a factory, a supply chain, a distribution network, and inventory management at a scale that most individuals cannot build. A digital product, a course, an ebook, a software tool, a membership community that sells 1 million units requires nothing more than the server infrastructure to deliver it. The marginal cost of each additional sale is essentially zero. This asymmetry between physical and digital economics is what has enabled individual creators, people with nothing more than a smartphone, an internet connection, and genuine knowledge or creativity, to build income streams that rival and, in many cases, exceed what traditional businesses with significant physical infrastructure can produce. Consider the YouTube model specifically, because it is directly relevant to what you are building with the audiobook space. A YouTube channel with a substantial catalog of videos generates advertising revenue through Google AdSense on every view of every video in its catalog, indefinitely. A video uploaded 3 years ago continues generating advertising revenue today. The work was done once. The income continues. Beyond advertising, a YouTube channel with an engaged audience generates income through channel memberships, super thanks, super chat, sponsored integrations, merchandise, affiliate links in video descriptions, and traffic to other digital products and services. Pat Flynn, one of the pioneers of digital income and the author of Will It Fly, built a 7-figure passive income business through a combination of affiliate marketing, online courses, and digital products. He famously publishes his income reports, showing in transparent detail how multiple digital income streams compound into extraordinary monthly revenue from work done months or years in the past. The entry point to digital income is lower than any other stream on this list. A YouTube channel costs nothing to start. An affiliate marketing website requires minimal investment. A digital product can be created with tools that are either free or inexpensive. What it requires is consistency, patience, and the willingness to invest significant time up front before the income materializes in building the platform, the audience, and the content that will eventually generate passive returns. The audiobook space is itself a digital income vehicle. Every video you upload is a potential advertising revenue generator. Every subscriber is a potential customer for future digital products. Every piece of content you create today is an asset that will compound in value as your catalog grows and your audience builds. You are already building Stream 7. The question now is how seriously, how consistently, and how strategically you build it. The order to build them. Now that we have explored all 7 streams, let us address the most practical question. In what order do you build them? Because trying to build all 7 simultaneously is a recipe for building none of them well. Focus is a resource, and the compound effect of focused effort on one stream at a time produces dramatically better results than diluted effort spread across 7 simultaneously. Here is the sequence that the most successful passive income builders have followed consistently. Start with Stream 1, Earned Income. Maximize it. Negotiate your salary. Build your most valuable skills. Increase your earning power as aggressively as you can, because every other stream is funded by what you save from Stream 1. Move to Stream 2, Investment Income. Begin investing a fixed percentage of earned income immediately, automatically, non-negotiably, even if the amount feels insignificant, because time and market compounds regardless of the initial amount. Add Stream 7, Digital Income. In parallel with your investment building, begin building a digital platform, a YouTube channel, a blog, a podcast, a social media presence. This requires time but minimal capital, and the compounding of an audience over years produces extraordinary long-term returns. As earned income grows and investment income begins generating meaningful returns, add Stream 6, Interest Income. Ensure that uninvested capital is working in interest-bearing instruments rather than sitting idle. When capital accumulation allows, add Stream 3, Rental Income. A single well-chosen property, acquired with appropriate leverage and managed efficiently, begins building the real estate portfolio. As the business of your digital platform grows, as your audience, your authority, and your revenue reach sufficient scale, formalize Stream 4, Business Income. Build the systems, the team, and the infrastructure that allow the business to run without your daily presence. Finally, as your knowledge, your content, and your reputation compound over years, Stream 5, Royalty Income, emerges naturally. Your books, your courses, your intellectual property begin generating ongoing passive royalties. 7 streams, built sequentially, each funding the next, each compounding over time into a financial architecture of extraordinary resilience and generative power. Not built overnight, not built without effort or sacrifice or patience, but built, one stream at a time. 7 streams, 7 systems, 7 decisions that separate a financial life of permanent vulnerability from one of genuine, lasting freedom. Let us bring them together one final time. Stream 1, Earned Income, the foundation and the fuel. Stream 2, Investment Income, money making money through the compound effect of time. Stream 3, Rental Income, real estate as a system generating monthly cash flow. Stream 4, Business Income, building something that works without you. Stream 5, Royalty Income, getting paid indefinitely for what you know and what you create. Stream 6, Interest Income, the quiet ballast of predictable compounding. Stream 7, Digital Income, the 21st century stream that you are already building. Here is the most important thing I want you to take from this audiobook experience. You do not need all 7 streams to change your financial life. You need one, built well, consistently, over time. The second stream funds the third builds confidence for the fourth accelerates the fifth, and somewhere along the way, in a moment that sneaks up on you quietly and completely, you look at your monthly income and realize that more of it came from systems than from your labor. That is the moment. Not dramatic, not announced, not accompanied by fireworks or a certificate. Just a quiet shift in the numbers that represents an enormous shift in your freedom. It is available to you right now from wherever you are starting. The only question that has ever mattered is whether you are going to start building. Which of the 7 streams are you going to build first? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. Share this audiobook experience with someone who is still trading all of their time for all of their money. They need to hear this. Subscribe to the audiobook space for a new experience every week, because the education never stops and neither does the building. Until next time, build your streams, trust the process, own your future.